All eyes on the local bourse in terms of ArcelorMittal resuming trade yesterday. The stock ended 23% lower. Of course, we know that it suspended its shares on Friday. It had to do with the contract, so that was also put on hold by Sishin. Of course, Kumbra Iron Ore's Sishin. Tell us about what you think has happened with this whole issue. And of course, we know that many investors got very scared. We saw a little bit of panic selling regarding ArcelorMittal yesterday.
I'm the director, firstly, at ArcelorMittal. A SENS statement was issued yesterday highlighting the importance of a discussion we're having with Kumbra, and hopefully in due course we'll reach a settlement which will communicate to all the shareholders and the country at large. So we remain positive that we'll find an amicable outcome.
Looking at ArcelorMittal, because one of the big criticisms has been that they've been receiving iron ore at cost plus 3%, and they haven't actually been passing on the discount to the South African consumer.
But we all know that, you know, the market is international traded good, and therefore those who are arguing that point, they should have looked at the international prices, which were very comparative South African one. So I think there's a lot of hot air around the pricing. The reality is that, you know, if you're trading in the international market, buyers have got a choice to buy overseas. So we would have seen the strength of the surrounding industry if that was the case. So it's all hot air because people have got a choice to buy overseas should they not be happy with the price. It's a consumer sovereignty, it's a very market-friendly market, and people should have exercised that choice.
All of this happened because of mining rights, and this is the issue, this is where it all emerged. Do you think that Kumbra Iron Ore has ground to stand on?
Well, the issue comes back to the ISCON bundling in 2001, and everyone knows that their rights are contained there. And I said earlier that the parties are talking, understanding that issue in 2001, and we believe that we'll have an amicable solution in the near future. So I'm quite happy as a director that, you know, we will eventually reach a decision that will satisfy both parties.
Mittal family owns 52% of ArcelorMittal. Any plans to sell the remainder to the Mittal family?
They'll speak for themselves. I mean, we remain committed as IDC, as an investor in the company. We remain committed because we believe that there's a huge role to play in terms of deepening industrialization in South Africa, particularly in view of the industrial policy that the Minister of Trade Industry announced. And we think that the only way of denting unemployment is creating a very strong, deep-based manufacturing sector, which ArcelorMittal will have a big role to play in that regard.
Now, if we do see this contract being done away with, ArcelorMittal's share price will probably be less than 100 rand, worth less than 100 rand, because if they do start buying iron ore at market-related prices, that's really going to hurt the bottom line of ArcelorMittal. Can you give us a scenario in terms of if we do see the contract done away with, where does that leave ArcelorMittal?
Well, at the moment, I mean, it's a matter of speculation whether the decision that's arrived at will hurt ArcelorMittal. I think shareholders should look to the communication that's coming from both parties and assess their position. But we still believe that, you know, there's a strong, viable business here, and we'll continue, as I said earlier, to engage with the other shareholders to move forward for the interest of the shareholders, but also in interest of the country, because we believe that the company is a huge player in the steel industry, and we're very, very sad to find ourselves in a position that will hurt everyone.
As I said, 23% down for ArcelorMittal yesterday. Was the IDC buying any of the excess stocks yesterday?
No, we don't do anything because, as I said, we're a committed investor, and we respect the shareholders that are exercising their choice, and we will continue supporting the company through this difficult period because in the long term, we believe that this company is very relevant to the growth and development of our country, particularly the industrial policy that was announced by the minister, and it's a major player, and we will continue talking with Kumbra to make sure that that solution is found that's amicable to all. To everyone.
Lumkile, looking at the overall market, we've seen quite a little bit of nervousness, but we know that the JSE All share is basically at the same levels that it was in October last year. What do you see happening, playing out in the equity front in South Africa?
Well, we're very happy that, you know, the US is indicating that tomorrow, I hope, we'll see some signs of positive job creation, and therefore boding very well for long-term growth. And South Africa is very dependent on happening in global equities. More importantly, Greece acted yesterday by cutting their expenditure by 2% of GDP, and hope that slowly even in Europe we'll see some realization that Greece can afford its austerity program and therefore won't need huge support affecting the euro and the euro nation as a whole. And therefore, in the medium to long term, we think that South Africa is still undervalued in some sectors, and we should see some growth coming back and continue seeing some buying opportunities, particularly for those that are looking for value shares in our market.
The rand is very strong at this stage. It remains to be strong, but then again, over the last 2 years, it hasn't really moved that much. Apart from that, we know that money supply hasn't been increasing in South Africa, so this is also assisting the rand. And we also forget the power of quantitative easing, which we have seen in the likes of the US and Europe and other regions as well. And this is what's also exacerbating the stronger moves on the emerging market fronts. Where do you see the rand going from here? Do you think we'll be seeing perhaps money supply increasing so that we do take that support away for the stronger rand?
Well, the Minister of Finance, Mr. Gordam, has shown us the letter he sent to the Reserve Bank, and we think that they must start showing their hand by leaning more against the wind, making sure that the rand at least start weakening, but more importantly, supplying more money into the market, including an easing of an interest rate, so that you can see more money into circulation and more liquidity, and therefore hopefully the rand weakening. However, we know that the global problems and the continued inflow of capital in South Africa during the value stocks continues to propel the rand. So, I mean, for exporters, I think they should be very optimistic about the rand weakening, because it's very, very difficult, and it's going to be difficult for a long term. Therefore, cost cutting and managing the cost becomes very, very critical. Focusing and expecting that rand will be at these levels for quite a long time as you build your competitive advantage. But don't rely on a currency, which all of us know that, despite the message by Pravin Gordhan, may end up strengthening further due to the continued inflow of capital South Africa.